and welcome here this evening to this study session. We're going to go ahead and start with the first presentation, and I believe it's the Sun Corridor. Or are you guys going to present this, or?
So I'll introduce the Safe Routes to School team.
Perfect.
Yep.
Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. My name is Natalie Stevens. I'm with the Public Works Engineering Department, and I'm here with Clark Klatenoff, our City Traffic Engineer. This evening, Kristen Hockham with Alta Planning will present our Safe Routes to School findings and go over the key findings and our next steps for the project. With that, I'll hand it over to Kristen. Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Madam Mayor and City Council, City staff. Thank you so much for allowing me to share this project with you tonight. Here's our brief agenda. We're going to give you an overview of the project, discuss some of the outreach and engagement we conducted as part of the Safe Routes to School project. We'll share what we saw and we heard from your community. I'll also highlight some preliminary recommendations with my colleague Elizabeth Barn-Hansen. We'll show you a suggested route map sample. Happy to take any questions and answers, and then we'll discuss next steps. As a reminder, the project team was made up of the Sun Corridor MPO, City of Casa Grande, our team Alta Planning Design, and our partners Horrocks Engineering. The Sun Corridor MPO secured funding from the Arizona Department of Transportation Transportation Alternatives Program to conduct a safe routes to study at all of your public and private schools and charter schools in the city. This funding was used to conduct walk audits, which are a way for us to go out and talk to parents, caregivers, school staff about their challenges for transportation safety around their school. We solicited input from the city's website and a webpage on the city. We attended public events to talk about the project and to solicit additional information from community stakeholders. Now we're talking about developing and prioritizing strategies. We'll share a little bit about that in a moment. The goal is to provide clear, implementable recommendations, both infrastructure and programmatic, to make walking and biking to school safer and more comfortable for students and their families. Here's our project timeline. We started back in spring of 2025, visiting all of your school sites. We did data collection in the form of surveys and student tallies. We conducted outreach events over the summer and just recently this fall. We continued walk audits at each school in the city. And now we're in the process of developing our final recommendations, which will be included in the final study. Tonight I'm here presenting to you all, and then ultimately we'll be presenting the final study to the Sun Corridor Metropolitan Planning Organization Executive Board in January. And then in spring of 2026, we intend to apply for additional funding to build out some of the projects we've recommended. Here is a quick snapshot of some of the outreach we did. I mentioned we conducted walk audits at each school, so here are some photos from there. We had a really nice article featured in the Pinal Central. If you haven't read it, I highly encourage you to do so. It's a really good snapshot of what the project was, but also how involved the city, your city staff, and the Sun Corridor MPO staff have been on the project. Here's some pictures from some outreach we did. We attended the Silent Witness Night pop-up event on September 23rd, where project staff, MPO staff, as well as city staff told people about the project and asked them to fill a survey. We also passed out stickers and coloring pages just to get people interested and excited about the project. The staff were out at the Harvest Festival last Thursday night, also passing out stickers and soliciting input from community stakeholders. Here is a picture from our webpage on your city website. All right, now I'm going to tell you a little bit about what we saw and we heard when we were out at the schools. What we saw is that Casa Grande has a lot of great bicycle and pedestrian infrastructure already. And then we saw these signs, these stop when children crosswalks everywhere, which is really great to see. I was impressed by the immense school staff support for crossing students and their overall student safety. School buses were supporting a lot of transportation, supporting the general multimodal transportation network. And one of the things we saw, noticed, and also heard was that schools in the surrounding neighborhoods could use a little bit more shade. What we heard from stakeholders is that drivers are speeding near schools. and that drivers do not yield to students and others in the crosswalk. We also heard that sometimes drivers ignore crossing guards, which is very scary for those crossing guards. Students dart through parking lots, and parents and caregivers sometimes encourage their students to cross at locations that aren't at a crosswalk. And in general, there's not enough space for pickup drop-off on and off campus. Based on our survey, our community survey, we asked respondents to tell us what was their major issue of concern. And the majority, slight majority, said that street crossings were a safety concern, followed by safety and driver behavior, with far distant fourth and fifth, comfort and sidewalks. I'm now going to invite up Elizabeth Barnes-Hanson from Horrocks to talk to us a little bit about our preliminary infrastructure recommendations.
Hi, thank you for having me this evening. So I am a transportation engineer with Horrocks on this team. I'm the lead engineer on this project. I have 12 years of experience in the field, broad roadway, focusing on multimodal, so bike and ped. So talking a little bit about the preliminary and I gotta figure out how to work this thing. So preliminary recommendations, we really tried to have a wide range of recommendations for each school site. Stuff that's easy to implement, quick build, if you will, whether it's striping crosswalks, buffered bike lanes, that sort of thing, adding additional signage as well, and then ramping it up to more complex recommendations that might mean signal modifications with a leading pedestrian interval that allows pedestrians to have more time to cross. It could be traffic calming items, traffic circles, raised crosswalks, chicanes, curb bump outs, those items that are kind of more intense infrastructure, replacing curb ramps that don't meet ADA and PROAG requirements anymore, all the way up to suggesting signals, hawk signals, rectangular rapid flashing beacons, those sort of items. So it's kind of a broad range of recommendations, and I didn't want to have recommendations that are, that we could do right now. I wanted to go beyond that. What is the wish list for these schools if we could do whatever we wanted, and really have that as a baseline, especially for funding, having those kind of wish list items of what would make these school sites work better. And we're not just looking at school sites, we're looking off-site as well. So, for instance, this one is Saguaro Elementary, which shares a campus with Casa Grande Middle School. Each site, we're really showing, okay, what is the existing drop-off and pickup? Where could we fill in sidewalk? We saw a lot of sidewalk on campus, but not necessarily extending to these roads and extending to the neighborhoods. So that's a really easy infill the sidewalk so that kids can actually get to school on a sidewalk. And it just makes the parents more comfortable. We're looking at what's the existing, pickup and drop off, but also what are the locations nearby that parents use that might not be school sanctioned, and continuing that use if there's no issue. This one gets even more unique where there's a trail behind the school. So is there a potential for a trailhead nearby? That would be great. And so we kind of tailored them to each school site. In this case, we're right off of Pinal Ave. I can't do much with Pinal Ave. McMurray maybe a little bit more, but with these schools that are tucked into neighborhoods, we can really suggest a lot more traffic calming options, because that's really a continuous issue that schools, parents that we witnessed, drivers, speed, as we mentioned, especially at Cottonwood Elementary, they mentioned the speeding and they brought up speed humps. We did suggest speed cushions as an alternative. That gives you the wheelbase so emergency vehicles aren't impacted by the speed hump. They can just go straight through the speed cushion. But for that school, I suggested a traffic circle, curb bump outs, a raised crosswalk, really try to get people to slow down. You know, I saw parents pick up and then speed off and not want to stop for the crossing guard, so we want to avoid that. So that's just kind of our wide variety of recommendations that we have come up with for every school.
For each school, we created these suggested route maps. These are maps of today's infrastructure. So these might change in the coming years, but they're designed to show parents and families, students, that walking and or biking to school isn't as hard as it might seem. So you'll see there's times and distances on each of the maps with safety tips. We sent these out to each of the schools last week, and we've got some feedback, so we'll be updating these for each school so that they're reflective of the conditions in their walking and biking conditions near their school. And at this time, I'd love to answer any of your questions.
Thank you. Hey, any questions, comments? Sure, Matt.
You guys mentioned it, but like one of my biggest pet peeves is people who speed through school zones. I know can do safe routes. Is there any education piece that you guys have or anything to help us promote that? Because even the one on Pinal that has the hot crosswalk with all the flashing lights, people still, I'm like, come on. You know?
Yeah. Yeah, those are part of our programmatic recommendations. It's educating parents, neighbors about slowing down, reminding them they're in a school zone, also getting the students involved and reminding their parents that they should be slowing down and driving slowly in a school zone. It's a multi-layered problem and approach, so that's why we marry what Elizabeth does with the programmatic side.
Any other comments?
I've just comments, not a question. I just think that you all did an amazing job. I had a chance to work with you both as someone on city council and as a principal, and I just appreciate the time and effort that you put into this. When you ask any administrator, what is your #1 priority, it's always safety. And so looking at what's outside of our school and sometimes what we feel like maybe we don't have control over, you guys providing this, I think, is just amazing for our students and our families. So I really appreciate the time and effort that you all put into this.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman.
Thank you. Any other comments?
No.
Well, good. Well, we look forward to the recommendations and the funding that we're going to get for this, right?
That's right. That's what's next, is applying for funding. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay. So next, Larry, is this you?
It's actually our planning department, Madam Mayor, but perhaps I can set the tone just briefly as they're coming up to the podium to introduce the speaker. I know that the council is aware of one of the new requirements by state statute that each city must complete an affordable housing study within every 5 years, essentially. Dan's probably going to talk a little bit about that, so I don't want to go too far in depth. But ultimately, Casa Grande was in the front end of these affordable housing studies, and so I'll let Dan make the introduction.
Thank you. I won't touch too much upon that. I'll leave it up to Rick Merritt, who I introduce. He's with Elliott Pollock and Company. The city did receive a grant for $107,000 from the Arizona Department of Housing to perform an affordable housing study. Staff has been working closely with Mr. Merritt, and after about 4 draft revisions of the plan, staff is very happy with the final product, and it provides staff with an action plan and strategies that Mr. Merritt will go over with you.
Okay. Thank you.
There he is.
It's a pleasure to finally be in front of you tonight and to talk about the affordable housing plan that we've been preparing over the past few months. I'll jump right into it. I have a few slides to go through. I can figure out how to use this. There we go. So what is affordable housing? You hear a lot about it now. The states has a lot of legislation affecting it. And so you hear a lot about affordable housing, attainable housing, workforce housing, missing middle housing. Regardless of whatever you think it is, a household should not spend more than 30% of their income on housing. And that's the goal of all these projects and studies that we work on. Affordable housing is typically used to describe housing for low and moderate income households that earn less than 60% of the area median income, and for a family of 3 in Casa Grande, that would be $60,600. And usually the resources to provide housing for these people come from public housing, which is very little of it in Casa Grande. It comes through the county today. Low-income housing tax credit projects, which I'll talk about because you've gotten a lot of those lately over the past couple of years, and vouchers, which are also distributed by the Housing Authority. When we talk about workforce housing, we're talking about households that earn too much to be in subsidized or financed housing. And so they earn too much for that, but they don't earn enough to really make it affordable to them through market rate housing. So we also often refer to them as critical service personnel. They can be teachers, police, firefighters, construction workers, people that are really needed in the community to make the economy work. We also talk about missing middle housing. And what missing middle housing is a type of housing between single family housing and, as you can see on the right side, large mid-rise type of apartment buildings. So in between are the types of units that are more clustered, they're more affordable, they're a little bit smaller, and so they become affordable for workforce housing to speak of. So it can be duplexes, fourplexes, courtyard housing, townhomes, things like that. And you do have some of that in the city today, but there probably needs to be more of it to be for workforce housing to afford them and actually get into the housing market. So I want to talk a little bit about demographics of Casa Grande. You have a median age that's below the statewide average. You have a pretty typical household size. Owner-occupied units have a little bit larger households and renters. The big thing is, of course, everybody's looking at household income. You have a mean income of $93,000 and a median income of about $66,300. Both of those are below the statewide average, actually below the countywide average. So there is an indication of need here in the community for affordable housing. In terms of your forecasted population, this comes from MAG. You're expected over the next 16 years or so to grow by about 25,000 people. You can see you're still going to be one of the larger communities. Maricopa has overtaken you in size, and now we have Santan, which is probably going to be about the size of Maricopa at this point. But you are, population or not, you are the economic heart of Pinal County. All the retail that's here, all the manufacturing, the warehousing, you got the rail, so you have a lot of things going for you here. You, regardless of population, you're the economic center of the county. So based on the population demand, we see that there's a housing demand for about 9,800 units over the next 15, 16 years. And you can see what that means on an average per year. It's quite a bit less than what you've been producing in the recent years on an annual average, but it's still quite a bit of housing still to be developed in the community. So the housing market really has been, put on its head because of what's going on across the country and the increase in prices that we've seen. In terms of building permit activity, you can see where you were back in 2021, and even before that, a lot of single-family housing, but you get to 2023 and 2024, and you start to see the multifamily housing. You've really been discovered as a place that needs housing, needs multifamily housing, and the developers have come here and built those units. And so that there's quite a bit of inventory available to you, and we see additional units probably coming down the pike for you. We looked at all the conventional market rate apartments that are here. There's about 2,568 units that we call traditional apartments, and then you have the build to rent, the single story, independent, unattached units that you've seen quite a few of those developed, 900 or so. So you're all of our market inventory is about 3,500 units of conventional housing. There's a lot of other types of units, smaller units, 3 and 4 plexes that are out there, but these are the conventional units. And then when you get to the affordable market inventory, most of these on the top part of this slide are tax credit projects. And you can see the newly approved tax credit complexes that have come in. So you had 832 tax credit units. Some of them are rather old, and they lose their commitment to maintain their affordability. Many of them, studies have shown that many of those units still stay affordable just because they can keep their vacancy rates very low, and so we have found that to be the case in a lot of instances. But you're almost doubling the amount of tax credit projects that you've had in the past. Just in the last couple of years, 756 units are on the board, under construction, some of them. The Casa Grande Phase 1, the Gorman project, is still in the contingency due diligence phase from what I understand, so that could still be coming forward. And then under construction units, you have, once again, the affordable 692 units, and market rate total, from what we understand, is over another 700 units. So still a lot of activity going on. This will take several years for the market to lease up these projects and to get back to a normal vacancy rate. Your vacancy rate's a little high at this point, but it's going to take a little bit of time for that to straighten out. So the average apartment rent went from about a little over $1,000 a month to $1,455 in 2022. It's down now to about $1,350, and it's down because of all the apartment development that's occurred and the vacancy rate that's a little bit on the high side right now. So a big increase in apartments. In single family, the resale prices have gone up about 64%, an increase of $131,000 since 2019. The number of sales is down some from when it was in 2021, but you're still looking at about $136,000 for the average for sale resale unit. And then if you look at new home sales, that has increased by about $150,000 over a 3-year period. It hit 385,000, and it's down now to about 353,000 in 2024. So prices are declining to some extent because of the market, a slowdown in the market, those types of things. We looked at what it would take to purchase, or what can the median price or the median household income afford in the community. And this is based on 6.65% interest rate. Interest rates are all over the place at this point. And already it's down to about 6.2 at this point. So this is a little bit outdated even over the past few weeks since we put this together. But somebody with a $66,000 income could afford at that point $238,000. You can see your housing prices are well above that. Even with a decline in the interest rate, it's going to make a little bit of difference, but it's still not going to get a household up to the point where they can afford the typical home in Casa Grande. So we talk about what the housing gap is. The gap is the difference between what's affordable for people and what's out there in the market. And in this case, we look at the census data, and they provide us information on how many households are spending more than 30% of their income on housing, and how many are spending 50%, which is severely burdened households. So you have 2,900 households, renters, that spend more than 30%. It's about 48% of all, almost half of all renters are housing burden. And then within that amount, are another 1,200 households spend more than 50%. You can see your numbers are a little bit higher than the Pinal County averages, and a little bit about equal to what the state is experiencing across the state at this point. So, but clearly a difficult situation for most renters in the city. And when we look at owner-occupied units, there's about 3,400 households that spend more than 30%, about 23% of all homeowners are burdened by housing at this point. We also point out there's a lot of at-risk households that need to be impacted by whatever housing programs you elect to adopt at this point. One is the female householders with no spouse present, no husband. And if they, a lot of them have children that they care for. And you can see the difference in incomes, household incomes compared with a male householder or even a married couple householder, which is at the very top there. Married couple householders are making roughly upwards of $90,000 a year, where a female householder, even with children, is $42,000. So that's one of your at-risk targets we think you should really focus on. And the other is seniors. Seniors account for 31% of all households in Casa Grande who spend more than 30% of their income on housing. About half of them, more than half of them, spend more than 30% of their income on housing. So there is a need for that to be a component of your affordable program. This is a graphic, an interpretation of how we think the Casa Grande market is working. And on the bottom, you see the incomes categories of people. And up to about $50,000 in income, there's a deficit of housing affordable to those households. So what they are required to do is they are forced to go into the area where there's a surplus of housing, and that's where they start to spend more than 30%. Or they have to find a roommate, or they have to double up somehow in relatives or something like that. Otherwise, they're put into that area of surplus. At the other end, there's also a deficit of high-end rental units, and 15% of renters earn more than $100,000 of income. So they could easily afford higher rent, but they choose, because part of it is they don't need to spend that much, and the other part of it is they can find units that are more affordable to them in that surplus area that we show there. So that's how we think the market kind of works at this point, and it puts a crush on those center areas where the surplus of units, and that's where it's difficult for people to find housing, rental housing. So we looked also at affordability by occupation, and you can see the types of occupations, and you can see the monthly affordable rent less utilities. And we took out, I believe, $150 for utilities. So what the rent that they can afford is on the far right of that table. And you can see if your typical rent today is $1,300 a unit, there are very few households that can afford those types of units. They get into middle school teachers and school teachers that are right there just at that point, but it's really registered nurses, patrol officers that can afford that those rents more. So once again, difficult. And just to talk about the economy in general, you need people in service jobs to make the economy work. We've done work in Sedona and Prescott. They have very low labor force participation rates in the 40% range, should be up in the 60% range. And so they don't have the service providers to provide for the retired population. And you're certainly a long way from that happening, but I think there's a recognition that you need housing for all types of households and occupations to make the economy work right. We looked at future housing demand. we looked at what households would be coming into the city in the next 15 years. About 2,900 we think are going to be demanding rental housing. And then when you get to $50,000 to $100,000 in income, there's about almost 3,500 of those households, and hopefully they'll be looking for ownership housing. So it's really important, once again, for that group to be able to own a home, have a starter home for them to get into the market in ownership housing. So our housing strategy, and we've talked to the staff about this, but there's a housing goal we're establishing, and that is to create or preserve 2,000 affordable and workforce housing units through 2030. That's a pretty big target to go for. And that includes the construction of new units plus rehab that the city does today with block grant funding. And we know that affordability cannot be accomplished without higher density housing products, which you already have a lot of today in the community. You just need more of it. So cluster homes, townhomes, apartments, modular, manufactured homes, things that are really what is needed. So just real quickly to go through, townhomes are on the right, common wall buildings. We see a lot of those starting to be built across the valley today. Cluster complexes, the builders call them 6 or 8 packs, where they have shared alleyways, and they do have garages typically, but more clustered and on smaller lots. Duplexes, small lot, single family are a lot of alternatives. ADUs, I know you've worked on the accessory dwelling unit provisions of your code. Manufactured homes are starting to look more like stick-built homes at this point. We should see more and more of that. There's more companies coming out with that. So those are the types of facilities that you really need to accommodate your future housing. So we have an action plan, a variety of objectives. What we really started to look at was, what are the resources you need to support production of affordable housing? We're talking about establishing a housing trust fund where you would have fund that comes into, that is placed in a fund in the community, and it can be used for all different kinds of housing purposes. Work with nonprofit partners, promote affordable or development of low-income housing tax credit projects, which you're already doing right now to a large extent. Look at school district excess land, maybe establishing a down payment assistance program, increase your staff resources. So there are, Mary has done a great job here in the city working with us, but there may be additional resources that are needed to really promote a program for affordable housing. We've talked about looking at the city's development standards and regulations so they're not a barrier to affordable housing. And then there's a variety of tools that we think should be considered in whatever program, ultimate program you develop. There's a government property lease excise tax, which you've used, I think, periodically. Which can be used for housing the city of Phoenix. If you've ever driven down to downtown Phoenix, all those residential high-rises are on GIPLETs, and it gives them an eight-year abatement on property taxes. So Phoenix has 71 GIPLETs, something like that. They've used them very effectively, particularly for affordable housing. A community land trust, that can be done through nonprofit partners. Your industrial development authority can issue bonds for affordable housing. And just a couple weeks ago, as I was doing research to finalize this report, I realized that your IDA provided financing for 3 apartment complexes back in the 1980s. And I don't know if anybody even knows that at this point, but it can be done over and over again and using that very important source. Those are some of the things we've come up with in terms of a variety of tools that are available. Maintain the existing affordable inventory is very important. Keep using your block grant funding for for emergency rehabilitation, monitor the gentrification of older neighborhoods, those types of things. And then support your homeless resource center, establish an educational campaign on the benefits of affordable and workforce housing, and monitor the progress in achieving the housing goals. So those are the main plan and objectives, and this is the action plan that we put together for this. Just to give you some idea of the available tools and how they affect the cost of development for housing. So on the left side are some of the tools. The community land trust in particular can take 15 to 20% out of the cost of housing. If you have a community land trust, you can do land banking, you can do density bonuses, things like that. The soft costs, waiver permit fees, impact fees, expedited reviews, all those things help to reduce the overall cost for a development. And lastly, hard cost of construction, waiving construction sales tax, reducing parking requirements, things of that nature that can reduce the hard cost of development. And those are the types of things that are all going to be really needed to promote affordable housing in the community, and in particular to start to work on housing for the workforce, basically. Housing so that people can purchase homes. They're not stuck in rentals forever. It's becoming more and more difficult for people to purchase a home. Down payment requirements are very extensive. So we think that's one of the important things to really focus on. And with that, we'd be happy to answer any questions. It's been a pleasure working with the city. We think you have a really bright future here, and once again, there's no reason to think you're not going to stay the economic center of Pinal County for a long time here.
Thank you, Rick. Rick, how many community outreach events did you have?
We had one in the very beginning and then one later on where I think you were at the second one.
I was at one.
And we did I didn't mention, we did a survey of the residents. It was online. I think we had 500 or 600. I don't know if you remember, Mary.
Okay.
It was a really good response. So we had an online survey that was really helpful for us.
Okay, good, thank you. Well, thank you. Any questions, comments? Sure.
A lot of good information, and I think it's information that we can use frequently because we get asked about these things. I did notice that it was labeled as a draft. What's the next steps, and when is it made public or given to us so that we can share it?
It's basically in its final form, and after these meetings, we have a meeting with the Planning Commission on Thursday, and we will finalize it. There's a couple little changes we want to make to it, but that'll be the end of it then.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Sure, ma'am.
You had some good data in there about multifamily housing vacancy rates. What is that? What's the average? I mean, what do they shoot for on the vacancy rate, industry standard?
The industry standard is probably about 7%, and that allows for people to turn over in apartments for people to move out and be released in. So you're quite a bit above that right now just because of what's been built.
Yeah, I mean, plus a lot of them are newer, right? So, I mean, they're just haven't leased out yet.
Yes,
Part of it.
exactly, yep.
Any other questions, Matt? Was that it? Okay. Any other questions, comments?
I guess I know a lot of the feedback from the community is, of course, they think we have enough apartments. If I'm not mistaken, on I think it was page 27, it was showing where we're going to have to add even more in the next 5 years. Was that what I was reading in that?
Well, I think that should be part of it.
Part of it.
You've gotten so many, and some are under construction right now,
right.
that it will take a few years for those to lease up.
Right.
But I think it's always got to be a component of it. But I really think, there's other things that you can really work on. The Community Land Trust is a really good opportunity, I think, for you to start to take a look at. The downtown area in particular has very modest cost housing. And I can tell you, we're doing a study for the city of Chandler. There's a group called Newtown Community Development Corporation. They do, I don't know if they operate in Pinal County, to tell you the truth, but they do community land trusts. They went out in Chandler and, a few years ago, bought 70 houses, and they then turn around and sell the building. They hold the land, but they sell the building to individuals who make maybe 80% of median income, something like that. They can't buy any more housing in Chandler because it got too expensive. But I think it's a real opportunity here that you could do the same type of thing in your older parts of the community where housing is a little less expensive, and regenerate the neighborhoods, those types of things. So I think that's a big part of it. And apartments are always going to be one part of it, but I think getting into those types of units that are affordable for purchase is another opportunity for you to really concentrate on.
I thought the one slide was interesting when it had the dates that some of these apartments were built, because we tell people that all the time, that we haven't built an apartment complex in over 20 years. And it's amazing when people ask, where are all these people coming from? Where are they working? Well, if they would just go over here, down the street here in the Sierra Industrial Area, a lot of people don't realize the growth and expansions that are going on with a lot of these companies too. So, so it was good to see your, population forecast and the need, and, we're trying to plan to make things more attainable and affordable in the near future. So, no, great studies. So I guess at this point, Larry, we're gonna have to see, it was nice to see the strategies and, some of the ideas. So now it's all about implementing and find out how we're gonna move forward on this, right?
Madam Mayor, that's actually the comment that I was going to make, is that obviously we'll take it to the Planning and Zoning Commission for their input, and then ultimately bring the document back to the staff level and begin to incorporate some of the tools and some of the action items into our strategic planning process, into our action plans. So you'll begin to see some of the, what I consider to be actionable items beginning to be disseminated through our strategic plan as part of our budget process.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Mary, did you have something? Sure.
Yeah.
One of the requirements for the grant was that we bring it back to you guys to adopt some of that stuff.
Okay.
So I'm thinking potentially in the next couple of months,
Right.
we'll pull it all together, but it does come back for you guys to officially adopt.
The final,
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
And Mary, thank you to you and your staff because I know you were coordinating a lot of the events, and so thank you for working with them.
Thank you.
Okay,
I have
sure,
just
go
one
ahead,
quick
Sean.
question. You may have the answer for this. I was kind of wondering on the renters, the owners of these apartment complexes, what % occupancy do they have to be at to become profitable? Would you
It's
know that?
probably about the 7%.
It is that 7%?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay,
And you can see the incentives are out there now, I think, in a lot of the communities.
okay,
So they're trying to get there, yeah.
okay, thank you.
I have a question. So based on all this information, do you feel that we're in a good place right now? I mean, will you?
I do feel you're at a good place. I mean, you have these tax credit projects that have come in. They'll certainly help people reduce their housing costs. That may open up other apartment complexes for people to move in, and people who maybe can afford those a little bit better. But yeah, the influx of tax credit projects is really important, and it's really good to see. I think you are at a good position in that regard, yeah.
Good, thank you. Okay, anything else? Well, thank you again.
Thank you,
Thanks
Madam
for
Mayor.
being here.
Thank you.
Okay, and our third item here. We'll go ahead and Larry, you'll do the introductions.
Yes, Madam Mayor, members of the council, we're pleased to have our representatives from Cactus Mine here this evening, and they've got a PowerPoint presentation where they will provide an overview for the council on actually where they're at and their next steps. So George, you're ready to go?
I am.
All right.
Thank you. Well, thank you ever so much, councillors and mayor, for the opportunity to present here tonight. It's great to meet you all. So, I'm George Ogilvie, the president and CEO of Arizona Sonora Copper Company. I'm joined this evening by Nick Hayduck, my VP of Corporate Development, and Travis Snyder, undoubtedly, you know, the VP of Sustainability and External Relations. As you may remember, just 5 years ago, the Cactus Mine, or the old Sacaton Mine, was a $100 million plus liability for the taxpayers of Arizona. We've made absolutely tremendous progress on this project, and we believe that in the next 3 to 4 years, we can be producing copper cathode at a critical time for the US economy. And it's very interesting that we've been talking about school, and we've been talking about jobs and housing. You know, in the mining industry, the jobs tend to be paid much higher than the median, than the average. Typically, a mining job will average well above $100,000 US. So that could be tremendous for the city as far as disposable income and drawing in new people to the area. So we have a very experienced executive team. Obviously, the executive of any company is very, very important. We've got lots of experience in managing operating mines over the course of our years of experience. We've also brought mines into production successfully. I'm very happy to say that the gentleman by the name of Bernie Lawyer is a 40-year veteran of the industry and is a native Arizonian. Bernie joined us almost 3 years ago and lives and resides in Casa Grande. So we're delighted that Bernie, brought his skill set and experience to this project. We've also got 25 people actually employed out at the Cactus Mine. A lot of those individuals live and reside in and around the Casa Grande area. So obviously, as we grow this company, we believe that we'll be attracting more talent. Transformationally, next year is a big year for us, because if we greenlight the project at the end of 2026 and we complete the project financing, we're going to see a significant ramp up in the employment, and I'll show you that on a later slide. But we'll probably go from 30 people at the end of next year, probably north of 100 people within sort of 6 months heading into 2027. So we've made remarkable progress on this asset since acquiring it in 2020. You may remember at that time it was only a surface historical stockpile. It had 200 million pounds of copper in it. We knew there was mineralization within the old Sacaton open pit, because when you looked in, you could clearly see how it was all oxidized. We started drilling around there, and within 2 years, we'd increased the resource to 3.5 billion pounds of copper. ASARCO had drilled where you see that number 3, which we call Park Salier, back in the 1970s and 80s. We knew there was mineralization there, but because it was deep, they decided not to pursue it. So we started drilling there heading into 23 and 2024, and we subsequently then increased the resource to approximately 8 billion pounds of copper in the ground. And then a transformational event occurred in March of 2024 when we picked up the property where you see the number 4 and 5, which we then called Mainspring, which belonged to a private landowner. The mineralization from Park Salier, as it extends south, it comes towards surface. So that means that we can now open pit Park Salier into a large new open pit, which is exactly the mining style that we're looking at within a pre-feasibility study that we just released in the last several weeks. So now we've actually grown the resource to 12.5 billion pounds of copper in the ground. Today, the copper price on COMEX sits at $5 US a pound of copper. So if you think about that, there's over close to $60 billion of revenue actually sitting in the ground there at a time when the US is going to be demanding more copper as we look for electrification and try and get away from decarbonization. We also have some significant shareholders in the company. So Hudbay Mining, who has the Copper World project just south of Tucson, That company has a market cap of just over $6 billion US dollars. Today, they are a 9.9% shareholder in the company. They approached us last August when we came out with what's known as a preliminary economic assessment. And after conducting 4 months of due diligence on the project, including getting access to our virtual data room, coming to site, meeting with management, they invested $20 million into the company to take that 9.9% position. And then in July of this year, when we raised approximately 52 million Canadian dollars, they followed what we call are their investment rights, and they put another $6 million into the company to maintain that 9.9% position. We also have Royal Gold, which is probably the second largest royalty company in the world today. I think actually their market capitalization is closer to $15 billion today. And they hold a 2.5% net smelter royalty on the Cactus project, or at least they did. Earlier this year, we actually bought back 0.5% of that NSR for a cost of $7 million US dollars, as we could clearly see that the mine was going to be very economical, and it's better that we buy back royalties when we can so that we can put those revenues into the shareholders' pockets and those of the stakeholders as the mine advances forward. And then about 3 years ago, we were approached by Newton, which is a division of Rio Tinto Copper. Rio Tinto Copper has a market capitalization of $90 billion, and today they are a 6% shareholder in the company. The point I'm making here is that you've got 3 world-class organizations that are invested in a junior mining company. If they did not expect the mine to go into production, they would not have invested monies into the company. So the PFS that we put out several weeks ago, we used a flat copper price of $4.25 a pound of copper, and it generated an NPV 8, using an 8% discount factor, of $2.3 billion US dollars after tax, and the internal rate of return was just below 23%. We've got initially a 22-year mine life operation, and we'll be employing approximately 650 people on this project. For every job that gets created out at the mine, the rule of thumb is usually there's 2 to 3 other jobs which are created in the service industry. So that could be potentially anywhere from additional 1,200 to 1,800 additional jobs at the end of the day. You'll see a little bit later, but the mine plan is for conventional open pit mining. Most of the mining that is done in the state of Arizona is open pit mining, and most of that is your typical heap leach, where we put the ore on piles, we sprinkle it with sulfuric acid, and as the sulfuric acid works through, it leaches out the copper into a solution. We send that over to a big tank house where effectively we just pass a current within the solution, and the copper ions get attracted to the cathode plate, and over time it builds up a pure copper cathode, which can be sold directly to US industry for copper rod manufacturing or electrical wire manufacturing. So we're now embarking on what's known as a definitive feasibility study. We'd anticipate that that would be completed in the second half of next year. We're also in the process of making out our amended application for our final permits, which will allow us to construct and build the mine in the latter half of next year. And we're working on project financing. The capex for this project currently, to put it into production, the upfront capex is $1 billion US dollars. But when we look at NPV to capex, we're sitting at a very healthy 2.4 to 1. Most other projects in the copper space, if they can get above 1-to-1 ratio, would be classified as good. So this one is exceptional. You all know where we're located, so we've got great infrastructure, which we're grateful for, and obviously we can leverage that with respect to having access to roads, power, rail, water, a community close by with a potential labor pool. And of course, with Tucson and Phoenix being also relatively close, there's lots of vendors and suppliers that we can draw, skill sets from. When the mine goes into production, at 100,000 tons of cathode production a year, every year for 22 years, when we look at the current top 10 producers of copper mines in the United States today, this one would sit at number 4, equal with Baghdad. And when we look at it on a purely cathode basis, then this would rank number 3. So cathode is important because it doesn't have to leave the country and go for further smelting and refining. In North America, as environmental standards have become more restrictive in the last 20 years, a lot of the smelting and refining capacity is no longer there. Unfortunately, it's been taken up by China. So more than 60% of the world's copper that is actually produced is not in cathode, it's in concentrate, and it has to go to Asia, to China, to be turned into the finished product. The beauty of this copper cathode is it stays right within the United States, so it's a critical metal for the US economy and manufacturing. So we have water permits to the year 2070. We also have an abundance of water in the ground in a natural aquifer, which we call the basement fault. We have wells actually from the ASARCO days in the 1980s, which are still active today with pumps and piezometers, so we can measure the volume and the flow rate of water which is actually in the ground. And we see that there's more than enough water within that aquifer for all of our future business needs. We have access to the power line, which obviously comes from the Palo Verde nuclear plant just west of Phoenix. I think they've committed by 2030 to have 65% of their electricity on that line green energy, and 100% by year 2050. And as I referenced earlier, we have access to roads. Our initial plan is to send out our cathode using trucks. You're probably aware that the rail spur crossing over the road there is no longer there. But over time, with the appropriate planning, there is an ability to put a rail spur back in and take all of our product out via rail, which gives us a huge distribution system to the east or the west coast of the US. We've actually conducted 3 perception surveys on this project over the last 4 years. The last one was conducted in October of last year. 500 respondents. We used the same consultancy firm, the same set of questions, and we ended up with an 87% favorable rating to see the mine come back into production. And of course, we're in the heartland of the industrial zone within the city of Casa Grande. Now, onto the permits. Because we're on private land, when we make an application for a permit, as you're probably aware with no federal nexus, once that application is administratively accepted, and that can take a couple of weeks to a couple of months, but once it is, the clock starts ticking, and within 6 months, the state regulator must give us a response to our permits. So now that the pre-feasibility study is now public, and we don't see any material changes from the PFS to the bankable feasibility study in the second half of next year, we're currently making out those applications for the amended permits. And we would envisage that by probably the end of January next year, those applications would be administratively accepted, which therefore means by June or July of next year, we'll be in final possession of the permits that will allow us to construct and develop the mine. So we are committed to operating in a sustainable manner. Obviously, this mine was previously in production. There's a historic stockpile there, which we do intend to pick up over time and actually put onto properly designed, engineered leaching pads and recover copper from that. We're going to be contributing greatly to the economic activity of the local area. We see ourselves gaining access to 100% over time of green energy, and this will be American copper for US industry. Now, the numbers on the screen all come from a PEA that came out last August, but we know that this pre-feasibility study that we put out is actually superior to the preliminary economic assessment. We are going to have this report redone in the first quarter of next year, but we would expect the numbers to be better. But based on the PEA, we would be bringing in $15 billion of economic activity to Casa Grande and Pinal County. Over a 31-year mine life within the PEA, we were generating $3.2 billion in wages and salaries, and we would have been employing 400 people on the mine, with another 800 to 1,200 people in those services jobs, and we'd have been generating $2.2 billion in state, federal, and local municipal taxes. And our economists just did a rough calculation for the PFS, and those numbers on taxes are $2.34 billion. That's at $4.25 a pound of copper. If you were using the spot prices of over $5 today, I'd expect that number to be well north of $3 billion US at over a 22-year mine life, which means there's more income, more taxes, more revenue coming in per year than what we were seeing previously. And then the other nice thing about this project is we have some claims just to the northeast of Park Salyer where there's a sliding scale royalty. It has not been negotiated yet with the Arizona State Lands Department, but at a minimum and 2% NSR at $4.25 a pound of copper, that would bring in $115 million over the first 10 years of production. And I believe that money actually gets allocated to the state school system, so it helps the students in the schools, which is a great cause. So I believe this is a quality project. It's a Tier 1 jurisdiction. You've got a very experienced management team here. We will have future exploration success. We know there are areas on the mine where ASARCO drilled 40 years ago, which we haven't explored, but they did hit mineralization. My resource geologists are telling me that when we go back to pure exploration, at the end of the day, we're likely to see 15 to 20 billion pounds of copper in global resource on this site, which obviously means that the mine life of mine probably can extend well beyond 30 years than the 22 years we're currently showing. So it's a 22-year mine plan. 600 jobs will be created, 1,200 to 1,800 indirectly, $2.3 billion in taxes, and of course we're taking care of our historical taxpayer liability. It's a brownfield site, it's conventional leaching, it's state-led permitting, and I believe today we still hold a very strong social license. So onto the sort of schedule, we spoke about, obviously the permitting. One of the other key aspects that we're working on is the project financing. So about 3 months ago, we engaged a group called Hanneman Partners out of London in the UK, who are financial advisors. Today, we've let 15 groups into our data room under a non-disclosure agreement. These would be export credit agencies like US Exim, EDC, KfW. We've got 5 or 6 commercial banks currently in the data room, and some of the private lenders as well. And we've already seen soft interest from some of those commercial banks for up to $100 to $250 million of potential funding. So the plan of action is now over the next 4 months, we'll allow them to conduct high-level due diligence. Early next year, we'll request proposals from them. We'll then whittle that group of 15 down to 4 or 5, which then becomes the main project syndication. On $1 billion upfront capital, we'll probably be looking at $600 million of debt, and $400 million US of equity will have to be issued. Once we've selected the syndicate project syndication, we then bring in what's known as an independent engineer, and then over the course of the next 6 to 9 months, they conduct further due diligence, which means by the 4th quarter of next year, we'd anticipate that we would have commitment letters from the bank for the debt portion of the funding, and then we turn our attention to the equity component, and hence the reason why at the end of next year, with the monies committed, we're at what we call as a final investment decision. If we can break ground in the early part of 2027, then we have the ability by the second half of 2029 to see first copper cathode being plated here. And that concludes the formal part of the presentation.
Thank you, George. And thank you for being here. And I
thank
think you
you.
just flew in. Did you have some delays coming in?
Yeah, I
Is
had a
that what-
3-hour delay, so I only arrived in Phoenix at 3 p.m. today.
No. Well, thank you. We're glad you made it. And thank you for your team, for being here. I mean, Travis obviously has been, part of this community and does a great job with outreach and, giving people tours, I think during those Terminus days, you had people from the community just going out and giving tours. So we really appreciate your commitment to the community, showing what you're doing, and just being there and the support.
Thank
So
you.
we're happy you're here to give this presentation. So I'll go ahead and open up for the council members if anyone has any questions or comments. Any questions or comments? No? Matt?
You came all the way down here. But I kind of echo what the mayor said, is you guys are already great community partners, and active in the community. And my personal history goes back, and Anthony's as well. Our dads worked at the mine together. As a matter
fantastic.
of fact, we found out. And it's always been a part of our community. And a neat thing about this project that you guys have taught me over the past couple of years is that there's already a hole there, right? We're going to have to do something with it one way or the other. And like you said, 100 million. So you guys actually found a way to make it profitable and not be a liability to, which I don't think that can be understated. So we're just looking forward to seeing how you do. And it was always like, what, one Super Bowl a year, you guys said? The
That's
equivalent.
right, with that economic activity.
Yeah,
It's like
the
bringing the
economic.
Super Bowl every year to Casa Grande.
So yeah, and we're just looking forward to hearing more about it and wishing you guys luck on finding some more copper down there.
Great. Yes.
No, just give them
Yeah,
thumbs
thumbs
up.
up.
Great.
Me and Travis been eyeing each other.
Well, thank you ever so much. I appreciate it.
Thank
Sure.
you.
And did all of you take a tour? Did all the council members
I-
get to
I
take
did.
a tour?
I have.
Not yet?
Not
Okay,
yet.
Travis, we got to work on them getting the tour, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And we talked about that earlier, Nick, that there's 3 new council members, and of course myself as the mayor. I have had a tour, but it's good to be here to just give a background on who you are, what you're all about, and what you're planning to do. So many times we see it on paper, we hear briefly, so it's good to have the background on exactly what's happening and where you're going and what your timeline is. So I know we have some things that we're working on to move forward, and so Larry, what do you feel the next steps are going to be?
Well, Madam Mayor, members of the council, and Mayor, thank you for those comments. Absolutely agree. It's hard to believe that a decade ago we had a hole in the ground out there and there was a lot of discussion about what ultimately we were going to do with that. When I say we, a collective we, state, city, community. But these individuals have worked diligently. I know that we have been having discussions related to a potential effluent agreement. We left that off the presentation this evening specifically because of the dialogue that's been transpiring on that. I think the important message is that Nick, for those of you that have not had a chance to meet him, and I think everybody knows Travis at this point, that they have indicated that if individual council members would like to meet with them to discuss the project in more detail, that they'd be happy to do that. Certainly work through me to try to schedule something of that nature. But certainly next steps would be continuing the dialogue, potential dialogue on effluent purchase if that's where we're going to travel, and likely have something back before the council in short order.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions, comments? No, not at this time. There might be after they all sleep on it.
Thank you.
But thank you again for being here. Okay, so we'll go ahead and break, and we'll start the regular session at 7 o'clock. So thank you. I know. No, it's not terrible. They've done a really good job. Well, here, let's start. Good evening, everyone. We're going to go ahead and start the city council meeting. Thank you for being here this evening. We'll go ahead and start with the invocation by Mayor Pro Tem Herman, along with the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you can please stand if you're willing and able.
Please join me. Heavenly Father, we ask that you bless this meeting tonight and watch over us and give us the wisdom to make good decisions on behalf of our city and all the residents here. We ask that you look over our city and all of our neighbors and friends in need, especially in this time of food insecurity, and help people survive and get the resources that they need. We also ask your blessing upon all of our first responders, police, fire, as well as our military and everyone abroad in the world to help keep this safe. And of course, we ask you just to guide us to make these decisions tonight and watch over all of our citizens and all of the world. And we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Matt. Okay, Adriana, if you can please accept for the record that all of the council are here.
So noted.
Thank you. So for the minutes.
Mayor Fitzgibbons, I move we consider the minutes of the regular city council meeting of October 20th, 2025 as presented.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, motion carries. On to the claims.
Mayor Fitzgibbons, I move that we approve the list of claims report for October the 15th through October the 28th, 2025.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second to approve the claims. Any further discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? So, meeting agenda. I know we have executive session, so you probably want to move that ahead, or the reports ahead.
Mayor Fitzgibbons, I move that we move reports ahead of the executive session.
Second. Okay, there's been a motion and a second to approve the agenda as amended. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, special presentations. So we have two presentations today, and I don't know, is there anyone here from Cass Grant Alliance? Okay, I don't think so. I thought someone was going to be here today, but I'm going to go ahead and read a proclamation that we had for Red Ribbon Week. So I'll go ahead and read this here, since I don't think Retta is here. Let's see. Whereas the city of Cass Grande values the health and safety of all our citizens, and whereas substance abuse is particularly damaging to one of our most valuable resources, our children, and contributing factor in the 3 leading causes of death for teenagers, accidents, homicides, and suicides. And whereas is the goal of Red Ribbon Week and the city of Cass Grande to involve families, schools, businesses, churches, law enforcement agencies, and service organizations in all aspects of this campaign, and establish an atmosphere that supports awareness, education, and ongoing initiatives to prevent drug abuse. And whereas the Red Ribbon Week campaign was established by Congress in 1988 to encourage a drug-free lifestyle and involvement on drug prevention efforts. And whereas on October 23rd through the 31st has been designated a National Red Ribbon Week, which encourages Americans to wear a red ribbon to show their support for a drug-free environment. And whereas Cass Grande Alliance is one of the local leading substance abuse prevention coalition who is committed to promoting prevention in our community, CGA is partnering with the National Guard, Cass Grande Police Department, Cass Grande Fire, Border Patrol, DEA, and community partner agencies. Cass Grande Alliance will be engaging students in fun educational prevention activities at local middle and high schools. So I therefore proclaim October 23rd through the 31st as Red Ribbon Week, And as you all know, that was last week. The Casa Grande Alliance had activities going on through all of the schools. And I know there was one picture, I don't know if you want to show, Stephen, at Casa Grande Union High School, where they had a commitment from students to pledge that they will live drug-free. So just appreciate all the efforts that Casa Grande Alliance and all of our public safety, organizations and their support for Red Ribbon Week. So I'll make sure I get this to Greta. I don't see her here, so I'm not sure why she's not here, but we'll get that to her. So our second presentation is, I'll go ahead and step down for this one. Let me get my notes here. Where did they go? Here they are. Okay, so this is a presentation in recognition of Bonnie and Mel Warren. So Bonnie and Mel, can you come up? Okay. If you want to stand right here. Thank you for being here. So Bonnie and Mel Warren, who were recently honored by the Arizona Library Association as the Library Volunteers of the Year for the state of Arizona. Since moving to Casa Grande in 2011, Bonnie and Mel have become an indispensable part of the Casa Grande Public Library. Both are dedicated, dependable, and deeply committed to supporting our libraries in every possible way. Bonnie, a retired librarian, serves as treasurer of the Friends of the Library. Together, she and Mel coordinate the Friends' ongoing and annual book sales at both library locations. They handle all the heavy lifting, collecting, sorting, and organizing thousands of donated books each year. Their hard work and teamwork have helped the Friends of the Library contribute well over $200,000 to make vital programs possible, such as the Summer Reading Program, Charlie Cart cooking classes, and the Bookmobile. Their passion for the library is evident in everything they do. As Bonnie likes to say, being with the staff and volunteers at the library feels like having her old job back. She's never really had to retire. Well, you don't get paid for this one, though, right? I know. Yeah, okay. So on behalf of the City of Casa Grande, we extend our heartfelt appreciation and congratulations to Bonnie and Mel Warren for this well-deserved recognition as Arizona's Library Volunteers of the Year. Congratulations. Congratulations. Thank you again. Thank you for being here.
They ought to have a banquet or something every year.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is the consent agenda. All items listed with an asterisk are considered routine matters and will be enacted by one motion and one roll call vote of the council. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a council member or member of the public so requests, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda and considered in its normal sequence of the agenda. Is there anything that anyone would like to pull from the agenda? Any council members, staff, or anyone from the public?
Mayor
Okay.
Fitzgibbons, I would move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, if we can get a roll call vote, please, Adriana.
Councilmember Ramo?
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan?
Yes.
Councilmember B. Dillon?
Yes.
Councilmember Edwards?
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Herman?
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgibbons?
Yes,
Motion passes.
thank you. Okay, public comments. If anyone would like to address the council, now is the time. I do have one speaker card, so I'll go ahead and start with that. Barbara Sundust, if you can come up and give us your address, please. You know the drill, Barbara.
I know the drill. 1273 East Cordova Avenue, Casa Grande, Arizona. Actually, I feel more of a sense of urgency now than all the other times I've been here, I guess, because like I read the editorial in the Dispatch about how successful the new ordinance is and how everybody is so happy that the parks, we have the parks and they're open to the people and everything is so wonderful. And I'm not sad about that, or I'm not complaining about it, but I feel a sense of just, okay, out of sight, out of mind. And these people are wherever they are. And like the last time I was at Laundry Love, one of the young men who was homeless, he lost a job, and he said he'd probably have to go back to the reservation. He didn't want to do that because what's the future in that if he was here and had a chance to look for a job and a chance to be. So, I mean, we have a committee of people who meet, and we're trying to find an encampment area, some place where these homeless people who they want to be in their tents. So for whatever reason, we can't judge that. They want to be in their tents, and they're not, they're just ordinary people who want to be in their tents and who are trying to survive and get jobs or do whatever they can do, get some learning experience. So I feel like if we could get a piece of land for them in some place, not in the city and not in the park, but someplace near enough so they could come get their services. And so we've talked about it, and I know people on the city council and Steve are working on a place, but this is a relatively small town. We should be able to pool together to help each other solve this problem. So if there's people that have land that they'd be willing to open up for an encampment, we could have somebody could donate bricks or fence material. We could have people who help put up showers and restroom areas so that they would have a place to be. And we could have a committee of a policeman, city council, some of the people who would be living there get together and write up a list of rules. Nobody's saying they're just going to, there's going to be rules, and they're willing to follow that. Some of the people that I know from Laundry Love they want to be in a place like that. That's all they want. And if they can get jobs and they can help out here and there, they're willing to do it. So I'm really pleading with the city of Casa Grande to help make this happen. I think what a beautiful thing if as a city we would come to help these people and give them a place to stay. And then the next thing's going to be a shelter for old people like me. Anyway, thank you for listening.
Thank you, Barbara. Is there anyone else that would like to speak? Okay, we'll go ahead and close the public comments. Okay, where am I here again? Sorry, I lost my place here. Okay, so we're on item I1, and that's going to be, let's see, Dwayne, is that you? Okay.
Yes, it is.
Sorry, I lost my place here. Hey, Dwayne.
Staff recommends that Mayor and City Council approve the award of job order contracts for transportation construction services to the 6 highest ranked contractors from the competitive selection process, and the establishment of an annual cumulative JOC contract authority of up to $10 million and approval for individual job orders not to exceed $3 million. The Public Works Department issued a request for qualifications for transportation construction services under the job order contract delivery method. The job order contract process allows the city to efficiently complete transportation-related projects, including minor and major street construction and associated work, which is essential to the city's capital improvement program and other department needs. Following the qualification-based selection process, the city has selected the following top 6 firms: Ellison Mills Contracting, Hunter Contracting, DBA Construction, Aiken Gardner Construction, Cactus Asphalt, and Ames Construction. Each JOC contract will be for an initial term of 1 year, with the option for up to 3 additional 1-year renewals based on performance and city needs. The city intends to issue job orders of varying sizes throughout the term. Funding for the JOC contracts will come from the adopted annual public works budgets, including the CIP, allocations for transportation-related projects. No new funding is requested. With that, what are your questions?
Okay. Thank you, Dwayne. Are there any questions?
No.
Comments? No? So maybe just a clarification, and I think we talked about it, but even though these 6 companies have been, selected, will we still, once the project comes up, we'll put it out to bid for these 6 companies? Is that what's going to happen?
No, in this case, we can just select one of them to get a proposal from them and do the project. We don't have to put it out for bid again.
We don't. So how do you select which company is going to get which project?
Well, as I said, they give us a proposal.
Oh, okay.
An estimate of what it's gonna cost, and we look at that, see if it makes sense, and if they're the right construction firm to do the project.
Okay, so they're going to submit a proposal. So I guess
Yeah.
not a bid, but it'll submit the proposal on the project. Okay. That's
It's
what I
kind of
just
like
wanted.
the same thing we do with hiring consultants with our professional services.
Okay. Okay, sure.
But these are all budgeted items
Yes.
already, correct?
Yes.
No more questions, comments? Okay. If we can get a resolution number, please, Adriana.
Resolution number 5844, a resolution of the Council of the City of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting 6 job order contracts from various companies for transportation construction services, authorizing the expenditure of public funds not to exceed $3 million per job order and not to exceed $10 million for all job orders per fiscal year, and authorizing the execution by the city manager of the agreements.
Can I clarify something there? It's $3 million per task, but only $10 million for each individual contractor. They can't get more than $10 million per project.
It's 10 million aggregate.
Total,
All contractors.
for all of them. Okay. Okay, so if we can get a motion.
Mayor Fitzgerald, I move that we approve resolution number 5844 as presented.
Second?
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, Adriana, if we can get a roll call vote?
Councilmember Romo?
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan?
Yes.
Councilmember B. Dillon?
Yes.
Councilmember Edwards?
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Herman?
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgibbons?
Yes,
Motion carries.
thank you. Okay, next item, is that you also, Dwayne?
Yes, it is.
Okay,
Clark's here to help answer questions, though.
okay.
So staff recommends the mayor and city council award a contract to B&F Contracting to provide CMAR pre-construction services for the traffic signal at North Pueblo Drive and East Cottonwood Lane for an amount not to exceed $47,824. The city published a request for qualifications and received a total of 2 statements of qualification. B&F Contracting was selected as the most qualified contractor to provide pre-construction and construction services for the traffic signal. The scope of this work will include pre-construction and construction services for the city's planned traffic signal at the intersection of Pueblo Drive and Cottonwood Lane. These pre-construction services will include design reviews, cost estimating, utility coordination, value engineering, and development of a guaranteed maximum price for construction. The GMP contracts will be submitted for review and approved at a future request for council actions. Pre-construction services will be billed on a one-time basis, not to exceed $47,824. With that, what are your questions?
Hey, any questions, comments? Sure.
What's the construction budget for this one?
You want to start answering questions, Clark? Clark? Clark?
We're anticipating the construction budget will not exceed 900,000 for this project.
900,000?
Yes, sir.
And then I got to ask, what was the driver to go to procure through a CMAR with a pre-construction phase versus just putting this out for?
Let me start with that one, Clark. So we've been using almost exclusively CMARs for construction projects. We find that, you know, we get to pick the contractor, which makes sometimes we get a bad contractor. And once that happens, there's not much we can do. For example, on traffic signals, ADOT built 3 signals here recently and used low bid, and they all 3 had real problems. Like one contractor didn't even know how to wire the cabinet for the traffic signal. So that's one reason we like CMAR. And with that, I'll turn it back to you, Clark.
Yeah, I'm managing the contract for this particular project. And one of the benefits that I'm seeing is there are unknowns out there that we need to have explored that will get us the lowest possible price and also eliminate from their bid risk. So, for example, at this particular intersection, we have conduits that were installed with a previous project, but we don't know if those had collapsed or they're still viable to push our conductor through. Significant savings versus going ahead and allowing them to bid on risk. They don't know, so they may go ahead and add another 20, 30,000 to the bid just to go ahead and drill those conduits in if no one has checked them. So that's just one of example. Utilities, how they're getting power, all of those kind of things can be worked through, and they're a party to the exploration and elimination of the risk, so that we get that's the value in driving that price down with the investment up front.
Okay, and you're going to use an ICE?
I'm sorry, what?
You're going to use an independent cost estimator?
Yes.
As comparison during?
We do that with all our
once the
CMARs.
JP comes through? Okay.
One other
Anything else,
thing, we
Mike?
did look at progressive design build, and we are using that on a project we didn't think that, you want to mention something about that?
It's the scale of the project.
Yes.
You know, there's a certain threshold that makes sense to graduate from a CMAR type to a progressive design build type contract.
You good?
I'm
Any more
good.
questions? Okay.
Okay.
Sure. Go ahead, Anthony.
Is there a reason why we're putting a light at this particular area? Is there a reason why we decided to put a light there? I know there's 2 other lights right after this.
Right. Warrants were met, so there are national standards for warrants when a signal is needed, and this intersection has met those warrants.
Okay, and I'm just trying to think out the box here, because I mean it's quite a bit of money, as Councilmember Dillon, and I know there's other areas where we're going to need lights, and that's why I'm asking the question. You know, and you're saying that the reason why we're putting a light here is because this is one of the requirements they're asking us to do.
Understand. Right. So the decision, when you may be able to speak to a prioritization, I will.
Well, let me talk about some of the signals that we're also designing right now that are somewhat in this area. At O'Neill and Peart, we have a signals construction going to start in January. Forgot where the other one was.
Well, I guess my question is, with this street here,
So
on
we
Cottonwood,
prioritize.
there's
by
like
amount of traffic,
2 other lights
amount
right
of
after
traffic,
this.
crashes, all those sorts of things. We have most of the intersections, major intersections prioritized already. And so this one came close to the top, and we selected it. But we have a plan to do a number of traffic signals around town. We only have enough funds to do so many a year, but we're.
Right. And this is just one of the priority ones at the higher part of your list?
Right, this one's been a priority for a long time.
Okay.
When the school first was constructed, we did a study
Right.
on this intersection and O'Neill and Treckle. And they both came out pretty close together, but we went with O'Neill and Treckle knowing that we were gonna have to do this intersection fairly soon.
And I think the concerns, you know, and we're getting it from the public too, is because there's, I get that it warrants it, because a lot of it is accidents, you know, traffic, but because they're so close together, did they take that into consideration when it was prioritized? Because is it gonna create, you know, bottleneck, I don't know. I mean, I'm just trying to think of traffic flow. Here, we're trying to make traffic flow easier.
That's great.
You know, so I think, if, I don't know if that's what you're trying
Yes.
to get, that's where I want to know is because we, you know, the public is saying that we're putting another stoplight there when you have already a
Two of
couple
them.
stoplights. So do they take that in consideration, Dwayne, when we say we're going to put another
Yes,
light there?
the
that they're so
minimum
close together?
distance that we like to do a signal is a quarter mile,
A quarter mile?
and this is a quarter mile.
Okay, so that's the minimum, is a
Right
quarter
now, I'm
mile.
not saying once in a while we don't put something closer than that, but it has to
Right.
be special circumstances to do that.
Okay. So when you were doing traffic counts and traffic flow and everything, putting another stoplight there isn't going to create more congestion or?
Stop and go.
Yeah, stop and go.
You want to take that?
Yeah, in selecting the quarter mile spacing, what we're doing is we're looking at the probability of being able to provide a smooth flow
Okay.
through a corridor. If you get irregular spacings or too short of spacings, it becomes more difficult, the term is progression, to get a platoon, a group of vehicles to move through from signal to signal in that platoon. A quarter mile spacing is one that we can go ahead and fairly reliably catch a majority of traffic in that platoon moving through town.
Okay. Okay, sure, Pat.
Yeah, kind of along the same lines. I mean, that's what I would call a three-way intersection, because the south is a dead end into a parking lot there, which leads me to question this and spending the money on this signal. And have we also thought about the fact that we are gonna put O'Neill through to Peart and Colorado through from, you know, would that help alleviate the traffic that might be needed at this signal? And this is something where I would, and I'll admit, I'm not a traffic engineer, and you guys are, but where I would say, would we try a temporary signal here to see if it works and how it works for people before we spend all that money on it, before we get all these other roads designed? Because looking forward, I'm thinking it might change the pattern of people driving once Colorado and O'Neill are completed.
Yeah, certainly, there's going to be that effect. One of the things that we historically have been working with is old equipment. With the new equipment that we're now installing, we can look at different sequences or different, we can go ahead and skip cycles when there's no one in the queue coming down Pueblo, for example. If there's no one at the light, it will skip a sequence and not turn red on Cottonwood. So because we're putting in new equipment, we have more options in order to keep free flow traffic during non-peak periods on the main roads, if that makes sense.
Then you ask about, will these eliminate the other signals, eliminate the need for one here? So we do extensive traffic modeling on all our arterials, and the model with all the development going on, the apartments being built, that we will still need those signals and this signal.
And you have the data, like I didn't see it in the RFP with the data, crash data and stuff for that intersection.
Traffic modeling?
Yeah.
No, I don't think we included that in this.
Yeah, no. I mean, I'm getting a lot of pushback on this from people and myself, and I'm questioning, again, I'm not a traffic engineer, but it's just seeming like it's really close to other big ones, and that area isn't built out yet with all the roads in it.
So we're talking these signals, some of them are a year and a half, 2 years away. So that gives time for more construction to happen. But we take all of the buildings and so on, the land use, and we can convert that into traffic. And the model tells us where the traffic's coming and going. And that's part of what we use to decide we need this signal. Can I add anything, Clark?
So Larry, is there a way we can get some of that data? Because it seems like we're all kind of like not, I mean, I get it that you see that this is a priority and everything, but is there a way for us to look at some of that before we move forward on this? Because I get that it's just, I mean, not just, but it's just the what is it, construction manager at risk, but it's still $40-something thousand that we're going to invest in this, right? So, I mean, I think it would be helpful if we all had more information on it.
I'm going to look at Mr. Itel and how much data is available for this particular intersection that could be made available to the council.
Well, quite a bit. We could
Yeah.
extract data from the model and show you the traffic counts on the different roads.
I think it would help, Dwayne, because we are getting some pushback and people are just, I mean, look, I mean, we also, you know, obviously the public is very concerned about traffic flow, you know, waits at stoplights. I get it. I understand, but I think if we had more information, I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but, you know,
Absolutely.
I think if we had more information, then we can share with the public again, a little bit more why, you know, this intersection and what we're planning. So if you already have some of that data, if you can we maybe bump it to the next one, or is that gonna delay your, timeline and your process? Quite a bit. I mean, I know it's gonna delay it, but.
Well, I don't know that, if we could put it in the next council meeting, I don't think
Yeah.
that would be a severe problem for us.
It would be?
Time-wise. It wouldn't be.
Oh, it would be. Oh, I
2
thought you
weeks
said it
is
would be. Okay.
3 weeks.
Oh,
It's not gonna make that much difference.
Okay.
So perhaps, Madam Mayor, the idea is to table this pending the additional data to the next meeting.
Yeah. Okay.
Sure. Do we need a resolution?
Just
So you need just a motion to table.
Okay. I move to table resolution number 5845 until the next council meeting.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second to table resolution number 5845. All those in favor, oh no, we need a roll call vote, don't we, Adriana?
No.
Okay. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, thank you, Dwayne and Clark, thank you for doing that for us. Okay, item I3, looks like you.
Good evening, Mayor, members of
Richard.
the City Council. Tonight, staff is recommending that the City Council authorize the city manager to enter into an agreement with the retail coach for retail recruitment services. Recruiting retail and commercial business is a competitive effort that requires expertise, precision, strong relationships with industry leaders. Cities that partner with professional firms specializing in retail and commercial recruitment position themselves for long-term success. These firms provide advanced market research and gap analysis to identify the businesses that best fit the city's demographics, trade area, and future growth. In addition, they help identify and develop marketing materials for available sites, and they leverage existing relationships with corporate decision makers to open doors that staff just don't have the access to. Their knowledge of national and regional retail trends helps ensure that recruitment strategies are targeted, proactive, and aligned with city goals and market realities. By engaging a professional recruitment firm, cities can accelerate business attraction, minimize the risk of unsuccessful outreach, and secure a diverse mix of retailers and services that meet residents' needs and wants. The outcome is greater retail choice, stronger sales tax revenue, job creation, and enhanced quality of life of our community. So in our efforts, we solicit proposals from 3 of the major companies that are out there, Placer AI, Retail Strategies, and the Retail Coach. Placer AI, while a very prominent player in the data sector, just doesn't offer many of the other more important services that we are seeking. The 2 other companies, Retail Strategies and the Retail Coach, can provide very similar services and deliverables that should meet our needs, including market analysis, retail demand analysis, develop targeted lists of retailers and developers. Those are things that pretty much most of the companies can do. But what these 2 companies add into that is a real estate assessment of existing vacant spaces and available pads for retail opportunities. They assist, and they'll leveraging their experience help assist us with developing a retail strategy. Marketing materials, specialized recruitment packages and reports, online platforms that make it easy for developers and brokers to find information about the community and the existing opportunities. And most importantly, actively recruit retailers and developers using their networks and attending trade shows and conferences, basically extending, almost like extending our staff. The extension, they actively will go out and do that for us. The main difference between the two proposals is that Retail Strategies was requiring a 3-year contract of $50,000 per year, while the Retail Coach proposal only calls for a 1-year contract at $40,000 that can be renewed up to 2 times for 1 year if we determine that it would be in our best best interest, basically prove that they're meeting our expectations. And with that, I stand ready to answer any questions.
Thank you, Richard. Any questions, comments? Matt, sure.
But I know we've done these programs before and we're doing it. We have used them just so people know it's not our first time.
Yeah.
And I know that you and your small but mighty staff do go to things and recruit people. This is just another tool in our toolbox. And this is how when we get requests from people in town, hey, we want to brand X this, supermarket, this helps us to target what will come here because they're just looking, these big companies are just looking for these boxes, right? This population, this demographic, but this will help sell it a little more. Hey, I mean, we're not quite there, but this, we do have this for you. So am I on the right track?
Oh, you are absolutely right. We have done this in the past, and we've used other companies. We did not solicit a proposal from that other company because we've tried them twice and it didn't work out for us. But you're absolutely right in this thing. We go out there and we do the best we can. There's 2 of us that does all the economic development efforts in the city, from recruitment of businesses to workforce development to doing our marketing. We go to the trade shows and try to solicit, recruit retailers. These individuals, these companies are specialized in that. So they have, the Retail Coach has over 24 years in the industry. They have offices around the country. They've got people with networks that we just don't have. And a lot of this retail stuff is, they'll sit down with us and they'll hear what we want. And then they'll also do that market analysis and say, okay, these companies are what we're looking at, and these are good fits for you. But they'll also incorporate into the projected growth to help. Because a lot of these companies, like you said, a lot of retailers are like, well, if you don't have X amount of people within a 3-mile radius, then we're not going to look at you. But they'll help us develop a strategy that will look towards some of those Costco's and Targets and Trader Joe's and all of those other companies or stores that people want to come into our community. We're going to get there. This company is going to help us do that because they'll help us be realistic, but aggressively help us by going out and utilizing, I'll call Joe, I'll call Deborah, whatever it is, with those established networks. Knowing somebody is key in this situation. And unfortunately, Brian and I do a pretty good job of doing the recruitment of the recruitment of businesses here and small business. We're working on small business support and workforce development. We just don't have the bandwidth, but also that 24 years of contacts that this company does, and that's why this will help us achieve our goals and get some of those different flavors in the community that we're all looking for. But you're right, this has been your top priority. You said, Richard, go get it done. And so this is a tool that we can basically utilize to help us get what we want.
Sure, Beckham.
What is the success rate of these companies as far as bringing in more businesses with the cities that they've worked with?
Each community is different, and basically, but I mean, more than 6 million square feet of new retail recruited in the last 5 years. I mean, that's in there. So I have to believe the marketing materials. But again, 24 years of experience in this field, and each community is going to be a little different. They're going to have success rates, but they're well connected and they have a success track rate. And one of the best things about this option is it's a 1 year. Mm-hmm. And so we're not paying for three years at a higher rate. We're paying for 1 year, and they're going to help us. They've even said monthly calls to make sure that we're involved with this. They're keeping us updated, And, if they're talking with some people, some companies, they said that we can get involved with that too. So that's gonna help our education too. So at the end of the day, we're gonna be having a strategy that's been developed. We'll learn a lot from just the experience of working with these individuals, and we're gonna get these marketing packages for these vacant spaces and pads that we can use next year. So it's not like we're just dependent on them solely. We're gonna have deliverables that we'll be able to utilize in the future too.
Brent, did you have a question?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, I mean, and I think you just clarified it, that they do look at the existing open spaces we have now to help us fill it in. I think that's huge.
Yeah, they'll
That's
take a look
definitely one
at,
of the things we want.
they'll take a look at egress, they'll do aerial drone footage. They help put together specialized marketing packages for these sites too.
That's good, I like that.
Yeah.
Well, and the good thing, it is a year.
Yeah.
And so I think it's good for us, just to kind of collect the data, how many contacts they made. Hopefully getting some feedback on, where we are. Are we meeting the demographics of, some of these businesses, so then we can, see what is that threshold and what do we need to, get to, for some of these. Because there are so many people that bring up so many different stores that they want, and you're not calling every single retail restaurant or, in the country. So I guess with those contexts, it'll be really helpful. So
They'll do
no,
a
I think
full-
it'll be good.
So sorry ma'am, they'll do a full psychodemographic
Right.
workup for the community. So it goes into details and,
Okay, thank you, Richard. Any other questions or comments?
I just like that 1 year,
Sure.
contract. That's
Yeah.
great.
So collect as much information from
Will
them
do,
as you
ma'am.
can. Okay, so if we can get a resolution number, please.
Resolution number 5846, a resolution of the Council of the City of Casa Grande, Arizona, accepting the proposal for professional services from the retail coach to provide retail recruitment services, authorizing expenditures of public funds, and authorizing the execution of a contract.
Mayor Fitzgibbons, I move that we approve resolution number 5846 as presented.
Second. Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? If we can get a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Romo?
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan?
Yes.
Councilmember B. Dillon?
Yes.
Councilmember Edwards?
Yes.
Councilmember Houston?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Herman?
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgibbons?
Yes.
Motion carries.
thank you.
Thank you, Richard. Okay, we have a couple appointments here. The first one is Sean Calvert to the Fire Personnel Retirement Board. I don't think I see him here. So thank you, Sean, for your participation on this board. So if we can get a motion to appoint Sean.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, item J2 is the appointment of Charles Wright to the Police Personnel Retirement Board with a term to extend through April 4th, 2029. Chuck, you're here today, so this is, if you want to stand really quick. Chuck, thank you very much for participating, and we welcome you to this board. So if I can get a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second. Okay, there's been a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, thanks again. And then Brad's here. I see Brad there. Brad, you want to stand up? There's Brad. We want to thank you, Brad, for agreeing to participate on the Public Safety Advisory Board with the term to extend through October 9th, 2028. If I can get a motion to approve.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, welcome. Thank you again for all of you. Okay, item K1. Dwayne.
So staff recommends the mayor and city council accept and execute an intergovernmental agreement with Pinal County Flood Control District for the investigation and analysis of the North Branch of the Santa Cruz Wash. The City of Casa Grande's capital improvement plan identified 2 local community flood control projects associated with the North Branch of the Santa Cruz Wash. The project will investigate storm flows and analyze flooding hazards associated with the wash. The Projects are in the vicinity of Maricopa Casa Grande Highway between Bianco Road and Pinal, and from Pinal Avenue to Pier Road, approximately 6 miles, all within the city limits. As the Wash is a regional waterway, the city approached Pinal County Flood Control District to participate in the study and to leverage Pinal County Flood Control District funding with City of Casa Grande funds. The completed project will provide the following benefits: develop hydrological and hydraulic analysis of the Wash, define drainage issues based on comprehensive engineering study, and advance alternatives and design concepts for physical drainage improvements to mitigate the drainage issues identified. The project will be administered by Pinal County Flood Control District with participation, review, and oversight by the City of Casa Grande Public Works Department. The full cost of the project is $900,000, combining City of Casa Grande CIP projects, the North Branch of the Santa Cruz, CIP project, North Branch of the Santa Cruz Wash Study from Pinal to Pier, for total city budget of $650,000, with Pinal County participating with $250,000 of funding. Sorry about my voice breaking up here. So with that, what are your questions?
Any questions, comments? Nope. No questions, comments. Okay, if we can get a resolution number, please.
Resolution number 5843, a resolution of the Council of the City of Casa Grande, Arizona, authorizing an intergovernmental agreement between Pinal County Flood Control District and the City of Casa Grande for the investigation and analysis of the North Branch of the Santa Cruz Wash, authorizing the execution of an agreement and authorizing the transfer of budget authority.
Mayor Fitzgibbons, I move for approval of resolution number 5843 as presented.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? Okay, if we can get a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Remo?
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan?
Yes.
Councilmember B. Dillon?
Yes.
Councilmember Edwards?
Yes.
Councilmember Hiddleston?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Herman?
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgibbons?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, item K2. Dan.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and members of the council. Before you is a proposed city code amendment that aligns with recent state law changes regarding administrative review. At your September meeting, council approved amendments to the city code allowing for administrative review and approval of site plans. Tonight's item represents the second phase of that effort, extending administrative review and approval to subdivision plats and other lot modifications. The ordinance updates several chapters of Title 16 of the City Code. Most of the revisions involve removing requirements for public hearings and instead delegating those responsibilities to city staff. To minimize the number of variance requests for block length in a subdivision, the amended code introduces a flexible standard. Blocks over 600 feet will be permitted if traffic calming device or traffic calming measures are included, eliminating the need for the variance. Blocks exceeding 1,320 feet, which is also a quarter mile, will still require city council approval, though such requests are expected to be rare. A new chapter is being added to the streamlined process for lot adjustments. Simple actions like adjusting a shared property line will no longer require a full subdivision plat, significantly reducing time and cost for property owners while preserving regulatory oversight. Even as subdivision plats move to an administrative approval, the citizen review process approved by City Council in September ensures continued public awareness and participation. For every qualifying application, staff will mail notices to property owners within 300 feet, which provides opportunities for public comment and community feedback before final action by staff. This will ensure the process remains transparent, accessible, and inclusive for all stakeholders. that concludes my presentation. I can answer any questions you have.
Okay, any questions, comments? I know, we're like not excited about it really, but we have to.
State law.
I know, yes, we have to do this, don't we, Dan?
We don't have to. We don't have to, I guess.
Okay, so I guess no questions or comments, so we'll go ahead and, so what do we do here? Should I do the first resolution?
Yeah, this
Okay.
is, because of the size of these changes, we're doing the same thing that we do often, which
Right.
is you're first going to adopt a resolution that makes the entire document a public record.
Okay.
And then you'll adopt the ordinance, which adopts the contents of that public record.
Okay, okay, so we'll start with the first resolution.
Mayor Fitzgibbons, I'm sorry.
Oh,
Resolution,
yeah.
sorry.
Resolution number 5847, a resolution of the mayor and council of the city of Casa Grande, Arizona, declaring as a public record a certain document amending and restating Title 16 subdivisions of the city of Casa Grande Municipal Code.
All right, Mayor Fitzgibbons. I move to approve resolution number 5847 as presented.
Second. Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Okay, if we can get a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Romo?
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan?
Yes.
Councilmember B. Dillon?
Yes.
Councilmember Edwards?
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Herman?
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgibbons?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, now an ordinance. Number.
Ordinance number 3483, an ordinance of the City of Casa Grande, Arizona, amending and restating Title 16 subdivisions of the City of Casa Grande Municipal Code, setting forth a penalty provision for violations of Title 16, establishing the severability of the various sections of the ordinance, and establishing an effective date.
Mayor Fitzgibbons, I move to approve ordinance number 3483.
Second.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second. Any discussion? Okay, if we can get a roll call vote, please.
Councilmember Romo?
Yes.
Councilmember Dugan?
Yes.
Councilmember V. Dillon?
Yes.
Councilmember Edwards?
Yes.
Councilmember Huddleston?
Yes.
Mayor Pro Tem Herman?
Yes.
Mayor Fitzgibbons?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Okay, we're going to go ahead and start with reports before we go into the executive session. So if we can start over here with you, Becca.
I had the opportunity to judge the costume contest at the Harvest Festival.
I like it, opportunity.
And it was really fun. It was really hard, and there was one set where we kind of cheated and we voted for two. So sorry, Danny, I didn't do that right. But it was a lot of fun, and it was amazing to see just how many people were out there and what you've done with the festival, and just I had so many people talk about just what an amazing time they had and just how everything was set up. And so I just really appreciate all of the work that you guys did. And it's great to see events like that in our community that have so many people coming to them. And then we got to participate in the Veterans Day Parade, and having family members who are in the military, I just always love to take that opportunity to honor our veterans, and so that was just something very close to my heart, and I appreciated to be able to do that. And I also wanted to give a shout out to Casa Grande Union's cheerleaders, because they've gone to so many different events that I've been at, and I just appreciate what the two coaches, Michelle and Katie, are doing just to have that like community service for our younger generation. I think that's so important. And then CG Alliance was on our campus as well at Cactus, and it was great to celebrate Red Ribbon Week with them, and I just appreciate all that they're doing for our community as well.
Thank you. Right, how about you?
No, I also got to go on the Veterans Day Parade. It was good turnout. Look forward to seeing that grow even more. I think it's such an important thing. I'd love to see more involvement, but I thought it was really good. And I brought up a challenge a couple weeks ago on a dog bite suit. So now I've got the challenge. U of A versus ASU.
Uh-oh.
Losing team wears it. So you guys have an advantage.
Yeah.
There's 6 of you against me. I'm excluded. But I'm willing to take that on, then you guys, once ASU loses, then you guys can determine.
I feel like you just want to wear that suit. I feel like you just, if you want to
Not
do
this
it,
year.
you just do
Not
it.
this
Just
year.
Yes,
I think
yeah.
all 5 of you give multiple targets.
Is it all of us?
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess
Yeah.
so, sorry.
That's all right.
That's good, okay.
That's all I got.
Thank you. Okay, Bob.
No report, thank you.
Okay, Matt.
We had the Youth Commission Shred Day at First American Credit Union, and we filled up the truck before the end of the day. It was a great,
Nice.
a great day. So we had a lot of community support and a lot of participation, and thank them. We actually had some, didn't get it all dumped in the, into the truck in time. So Pinal County Federal Credit Union paid for another truck. So it was very nice of them to do that. And also, I'm looking at my notes here. Gabe, Mel, and Gil from the Public Works Department were very helpful, as always, with our e-cycle and collecting boxes and bringing the trucks and the cones and everything else. So we can't do it without that department either. And of course, the kids. And then last weekend, of course, the Veterans Parade, which thanks to JR, that's the big cop that was retired. He drove our truck. He was great.
Lawson, right?
Huh? Lawson,
Lawson.
yeah. JR Lawson. And Larry, thanks for putting that trailer. That's our new vehicle. We like that, yeah.
It's comfortable.
Yes. And also the Harvest Festival, Danny. I was working the booth there. I think we gave out over 40 pounds of candy. It was insanely great. And a lot of the parents were like, hey, we get to wear our costumes more than just one night. So they were pretty excited. And there were so many people dressed up, man. It was a great event. And then on Saturday, I also got to judge I guess it'd be the Mayor Pro Tem's choice, because the mayor wasn't there. But, so we had judge the car show, and Crossroads Church puts on Thunderfest after the Veterans Parade, and there's over 250 cars in the show, bands, booths, everything. It's a great event, good community event, and so many people in beautiful weather that day to do that. And then also, as Becca said, with the cheerleaders, but the band was like the best part of, or one of the best parts of the Veterans Parade, and the Union High School band won a competition the week before. And I was talking to the director that day. I was like, "Oh, you guys are doing this?" He goes, "Yeah." And then the kids are meeting back at the school at 2 and performing at U of A at 8:45.
Yeah.
I was like, "Wow!" So they're a great band and got a great director. So just all part of being in a great community. That's all I have.
Thank you. Anthony?
I missed the parade this year.
I know you did.
The fire truck wasn't there, but I heard we had wonderful transportation. And so, but no reports. Just so thankful to be here.
Thank you. Okay. Sean?
Well, this weekend is the Casa Grande FFA Steak Fry at Union High School. It's coming. It came up fast this year, so it's Friday, November 7th. Tickets are $20 per person. It includes an entry door prizes and stuff like that. You can buy them at the school. As you go in, there will be a place to buy the tickets there. If you can't find an FFA member from your local community or neighbors or wherever to buy the tickets, the kids are all out selling them. But yeah, and they have a drive-through. So if you got a ticket, you don't have to go eat there. You don't have to walk in. You can actually just roll your car right through there, and supports the FFA. Great organization for our Union High School and for the whole community. So make sure you show your support and buy a steak. Great steaks too. They buy quality meat.
Very good. Thank you. And so, yeah, no, as far as the Veterans Day Parade, thanks again to Larry, staff for scrambling, Casa Grande PD for getting the trailer and the transportation. Thank you, Chief, for arranging that. The city offices will be closed Veterans Day. So next Tuesday, the 11th, they will be closed. This is the first year, right, that the city offices will be closed. So just FYI to everyone, but we're happy to be there or closed to celebrate Veterans Day. Just a reminder, tomorrow is the last day to turn in your ballots for the propositions that are on the ballot. So if you have a yellow envelope at home and you haven't voted, please make sure by tomorrow at 7 p.m. you turn in your ballot. Please make sure you do that. So, Danny, I know you've heard from all of us on the Harvest Festival. Really great event. And thank you just to all your staff, all of our police department, our fire department that were there, all the many volunteers. It really was a great event, and it's just, I hope it shows all, all of us and our staff and everyone how much our community wants these events. They're family-friendly, free events for people to come and participate. So good job. Of course, there's always something to learn, but that event just gets bigger and bigger. It just went on forever. I mean, it was just like there was so much going on. So just a great deal there. So again, thank you to Casa Grande PD. Did their traffic enforcement detail last week, for 2 days. Chief, thank you very much. Of course, we always get concerns about the traffic on Pinal, and with that enforcement, you guys probably read they gave about 117. They had 117 traffic stops that included speeding, drug, and DUI arrests. So we appreciate everything you're doing to just try to, get traffic on that road slowing down. So thank you very much. And just a thank you to, we're all hearing everything going on in our community and on the government shutdown and the struggles that our community members are facing. And so it's just so nice to see the community coming together. Jody, thank you for the beautiful article that you put together of all the different nonprofits and just general community members that are coming together to serve, to make meals, to donate to our food banks, and just just giving a helping hand and helping those in need. So a lot of our food banks and nonprofits are definitely running low on food, so there's definitely people are looking for donations. So if there's anything you want to do, please make sure you contribute to some of these food banks, because they're getting an unbelievable number of people that are coming, and they're very, very short with food to distribute. So thank you to all those community members for everything that they're doing. So with that, we'll go ahead and close the meeting and go into the executive session. So thank you all for coming tonight, and we'll see you at the next meeting.
Mayor.
Yes, overnight.